finished, he rang me and said he's bored. And I said, well, you will be. I said, but so that's the answer to that question. I mean, he's a very, very fit athlete. He keeps himself very fit, and he was fine. And we are going to go for it from the get go on Guineas Day. I mean, Oisin, look, he's won it 3 times. I think what he's actually saying in the press, because if you remember last year, he actually said the same thing. If I'm in front of him and he's got to chase me, then I think that's what he's actually referring to, because chasing, I've chased so many jockeys to try and beat them. It's not easy. You have to be up early. Your grey cells have got to be working properly. It's all in the brain. And it's not easy for a jockey's agent to do that. I mean, I say that. I mean, it's easy for me because I'm born with it.
Well, I have to say, Tony, it may be very hard work for you and for William, but we in the game and the industry really enjoyed those tussles. I remember that ding-dong battle between Steve Cawthon and Pat Eddery all those years ago. I think people in the sport really do like that sort of competitiveness going right to the wire. Now, look, I believe you turned down some top jockeys over the years to, not taking them on your books. What is it that you look for when signing up a jockey? And what is it about a particular individual when you're aiming to steer them to that championship?
The case with Jim Crowley was Richard Hughes was retiring. When it came out in the press that he was retiring, I was very honoured and privileged that jockeys want to come to me. But I had 6 jockeys ring me within 10 days. I remember a few days later, Ryan Moore rang me and said, have you replaced Richard yet? And I said, no, but I've had 6 jockeys on. And he said, add one more to your list. So I said, okay. And he said it was Jim Crowley. Now, Jim Crowley, I didn't know too much about. He wasn't on my radar. I didn't really know a great deal about him. But then I watched him one day at Windsor. It wouldn't have been long after Ryan had asked me to put him on the list.
Okay.
And I watched him one day at Windsor, and this horse was, excuse my words, but he was really piggish. And he rode this horse like unbelievable. It was unbelievable. I was telling him to get off it, and it would not go round the back of the stalls, and he was really being a piggish animal. Then he got it round. It started rearing up with him. He just sat there like he was in his own armchair. And then when he rode it, he gave it the most amazing ride. Then I started to watch a few more rides of his. And that's with taking him on out of the 7 that I had, was this guy is a horseman and he's a jockey.
Right.
And then I'd read up about him that he'd rode over so many horses over jumps. So that's where the horseman comes into it.
Sure.
And then I thought to myself, this is a person that could, in the next 2 seasons, I could make champion. So, that's what I saw in Jim Crowley. When I look at youngsters, normally I don't see them because I don't know them. I'll be watching a race and that could be just a bit of fate that I'll see them in the last three furlongs or something. And then I'll go back and watch it about 10, 12, 14 times from the start to finish, watch how their brain works, how they ride.
Yeah.
And because I've already seen the end part of it, because I spotted him or her. And that's when I go, right, this, like Kieran Schumacher, he was the first one. The next one was Jason Watson. These kids, Royston French, years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, all these kids, I could see so much improvement in them all. And that's what I look at in a young jockey, or any jockey for that matter.
Okay, fascinating, really fascinating stuff. Thank you for that insight. We've really enjoyed having you on, but finally, we like to ask our guests what things they would like to see change in racing for the better. So what would Tony Hind like to see change for the good of racing?
The first thing is, I've been saying this for a couple of years now, is when horses get older, I mean past the age of 6, like I own a horse with a friend of mine called Intrepidly, and he cannot win off of his mark. And when you're taking on 3-year-olds, they're the improvers. even 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds, they're still maturing.
Yep.
Once you get to the age of 6 and 6, they've matured. And, it costs a lot of money to keep a horse in training. It's about £24,000 a year.
Yep.
And the older they get, I mean, my horse, I'm only taking my horse, but I do see a lot of horses when I'm on my computer working away at it, is he doesn't bring them down very slowly. Well, sorry, he brings them down slowly. My horse, I'm just taking him for an instance. He's ran 9 or 10 times off of a mark over 85 and cannot win. And he's 8 next year, and he's not going to win off of his mark of 89.
Yeah.
So I believe the older they get, that they should look at it and say, well, look, Miles got beat 20 lengths last time. He dropped him £1 from 90 to 89. I think, well, he's older now. If I was a handicapper, he's 8 years old next year. Why don't we drop him down to the mark where he last won off?
Okay.
Give them every chance of winning.
Yeah.
And the other thing I'd like to point out is I would love, which I've been talking to people about this, and I was an apprentice myself. Let's not forget this. I would love to see, when they do an all-girls meeting at Carlisle.
Yep.
Have you ever seen that?
I haven't.
It's just for female riders.
I haven't been up there, but aware of it, yeah.
No, but you're aware of it.
Yeah.
Right, which is a very good thing because there's girls getting chances that probably wouldn't get opportunities. I would like to see, on a quiet day like a Monday at Fosslas or wherever, Windsor, just a meeting for apprentices. And so they get the chance to go and ride in a race. So if you have a 7-race card and you can divide one, which turns it into an 8-race card,
yep,
and not spread it out like a 0 to 5 winners, a 0 to 10 winners, a 0 to 20 winners, a 0 to 25 winners, a 0 to 50 winners, and an open apprentice race. And I think that would really change a lot for racing with apprentices, because a lot of them do not get the opportunities, and you can't show the public or trainers out there how good kids are if they're not doing it on the racecourse. It's just something I'd like to see, because if you get these kids nowadays, they're all on these social media stuff. I don't do it, but these kids are all on Instagrams like my children are, and Facebook, and they got their first ride. Say you're at Windsor and it's a whole apprentice day. I think the attendance would just explode, because all their mates, I've got my first ride tomorrow at Windsor, blah, blah, blah. And their mates will be going, mum and dad, let's go and watch so-and-so ride at Windsor. And I just think you would sell Windsor out, or any race course for that matter. And I'd just love to see that day come for the kids,
That's lovely, Tony. 2 really good, well thought out changes for racing, which none of our other guests have ever mentioned before. So one on handicapping, one on apprentices. Thank you so much.
Well, they're our next generation, aren't they?
Absolutely. Thank you again for your time. And we wish you and William every success next year in that bid for that championship. Thank you.
Look, lovely. Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Phil.
Well, Phil, I really enjoyed that, didn't you? I particularly enjoyed the bit about the getting Darryl Holland a step on the ladder and the phone box and the 10p pieces. I thought that was a really interesting insight into how Darryl Holland started. What about you?
Yeah, no, that was brilliant. It was great that Tony could join us. I really learned a lot from that.
Well, we've got another great guest on next month, Di Arbuthnot, head of retraining of racehorses. So she'll be our first guest in 2022. So that, I'm sure, will be equally fascinating.
Yep, I'm looking forward to that, and obviously, if anything goes wrong with that, then no doubt we'll find somebody else really interesting to interview. We've been very lucky with our guests, and of course, I'll be previewing the next episode on our Twitter feed, which is at Inside the Rails. So if anybody's listening and is not already following that, please do so. We really appreciate people giving up their time to listen to us, and we grow the podcast through referrals. So if you get the chance to tell even one person who might be interested in what we're doing about the podcast, then Simon and I would be hugely grateful. And obviously, if anybody listening has any questions, please message us through our Twitter account or email us at the addresses in the show notes.
Well, that just leaves me to thank co-host Phil Boyle from BG Racing, our special guest, jockey's agent Tony Boney Hind, producer Callum Ronan from Callum Ronan Creative, and you, the listeners. This is Simon Double from Solaria Racing, wishing you a Merry Christmas, a peaceful and happy New Year, and the very best of racing over the festive season. Goodbye.